We turn now to 5 things you should know about gas, specifically why gas prices, even at over $4 a gallon, can sometimes be a good thing. CBS News correspondent Priya David is here with more on that this morning. Good morning, Priya.
Harry, good morning. Now, we all sort of cringe when we go to the gas station and see those prices just rising. And we know that rising gas prices are forcing us to search for alternative fuels and more fuel-efficient cars. There are some other reasons to be optimistic about the high cost of gas. Here are just a few of them.
I'm kind of happy the gas prices are going up in one sense. It'll force us to think about changing the culture to create more emphasis on mass transportation from the local on up to the federal level.
Good. Well, look, we are the only major industrialized country that has such a raggedy transportation system, mass transportation system. I mean, anybody who travels to Europe or Japan or even these days China, you'll see high-speed rail, you'll see wonderful mass transit, wonderful subways or elevateds, and we just have not made that investment. Now, we are a car culture, and a lot of our communities are dispersed in ways that it makes it difficult for mass transit to operate. But you think about the connection between, we could connect Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago, Des Moines, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Detroit. We could knit together the whole Midwest with high-speed rail, and the truth is it would be just as fast for you to get there on a high-speed train as it would be for you to go and fly. And given fuel prices, we could do it much more cheaply. But we have to make the investment, and that's why I've said we're going to have a $60 billion...
Oh my God, we're burning alive! No, I can't feel my leg!
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. Well, the train line to fundamental transformation may be bound for certain failure, but this is the Internet Talk Radio show where we've got the pedal floored towards the success of the fastener industry, regardless of fuel prices. And we're glad you've joined us for the ride. Hi, everybody. Eric Dudas here, and I'm joined, as always, by the co-host of Fully Threaded. He's a man who's done his share of high-velocity travel in his day, but usually by way of high-performance machines, finely tuned by his own hand and magnificently powered by the wondrous miracle of internal combustion. He's Brian Musker. Hey, Brian, ready to get this train rolling?
Yeah, I am. I'm on board with that.
How did I guess? My question to you, however, is what do you make of all of this talk of high-speed rail? Have you had the urge to go at very high velocity towards Milwaukee or Des Moines lately? I mean, has that been something you've been thinking about, Bri?
No, amazingly it isn't. I'm not quite sure why you'd be in a hurry to get to Des Moines. I mean, you could be going to see Trinity Logistics.
Yeah, well, the thing is, once you get there, you're just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Cedar Rapids. And as most people know, they've got those amazing, like those mini burritos on a stick. You can't miss that.
No. The only high-speed rail that I'm transfixed by is the proposed one between Chicago and Springfield, Illinois, okay?
Well, I think you've seen right through the scheme on that one, Bri, and you're not alone. Of course, the politicians will be flying down there in their 3-4 car motorcades at high speed with about 12 miles per gallon. Mark my words on that one.
Right, they've been doing that. And, I'm a fan of the high-speed rail in public transport. I used it a lot in Europe, but there's a big difference. The population density is what's different. It doesn't really fit here.
Well, we have a whole show to consider of these issues.
Good.
But for now, let's punch the ticket on this one and run down today's lineup. What do you say?
Well, I'm on board with that.
Very good. This is episode 41, and we're publishing on March 8th, 2012. The fastener industry continues to drive ahead with decidedly positive sentiment despite rising gas prices, and that story is confirmed on Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report as he welcomes BB&T Capital Markets analyst Holden Lewis, and they present the results of the latest FDI survey. Mike also has a wide range of fastener headlines on this edition, and you won't want to miss his dissertation on the back page report. Believe me, this is classic McNulty at his best. On today's feature segment, we welcome Mr. Robbie Gilchrist of Capital Marketing. Many of you know Robbie through his various fastener company and association ties over the years, and during this conversation, we explore his experience in the fastener industry, his thoughts on professional associations, including the NFDA, and also the Robbie Gilchrist Scholarship Foundation. I have a feeling there will be a lot of new listeners to this episode of Fully Threaded because Robbie has touched so many people during his years in this business. And on the subject of success, in a few moments we'll be joined by Tyson Clayton of Desert Fasteners and Supply. They operate out of Las Vegas, Nevada, which, as most of us know, was hit really hard by the economic downturn. Well, Tyson is a young entrepreneur with a few thoughts on succeeding in a tough market, and succeeding he is. So, if you need a boost of inspiration, folks, stick around. What do you say, Brian? That's worth staying home for, actually, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Or driving slower if you're listening to this on your iPod.
There you go. We've got some news about that coming up in a minute. But for now, let's also point out that our title sponsors on today's episode of Fully Threaded are Stellfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stellfast. Also, Beacon Fasteners and Components. Beacon Fasteners. Nice threads. And before we get too much farther, I was talking to Joe Poplinski over at Beacon the other day, and he let me know that there's some news going on right now, and that is that they've teamed up with Pacific Warehouse out there in Chino, California. Pacific Warehouse, of course, run by Kelly and Tracy Lehman. They're big-time Pac West members. So it'll be interesting to watch how they work together. And there's another interesting tie-in. That is, last episode we were talking a lot about the Hall of Fame. And the Lehman sisters, of course, are the daughters of Hall of Famer Mr. Bob Lehman. Amazing how we tie all these loose fastener ends together on Fully Threaded, isn't it, Bri?
I would think people realize we've become masters of this.
Well, Pacific Warehouse has a really good reputation, and I was talking to Joe a little bit about it, and it seems like a very good fit because the companies, they have a lot in common in the way they approach business, and we look forward to watching them grow. Hey, folks, communicate with us anytime, and you can do so at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also out there on Twitter under the handle Fully Threaded. And if all that wasn't enough, you can communicate with us via Facebook. There's also a whole slew of links that we put up there about stories that we reference, and be glad to talk to you that way as well.
Yeah, and sometimes you can even post helpful comments like what to do to prevent my phone getting wet next time.
I saw that. Bob Caminos over there from Albany County Fasteners was helping you out there, I saw.
He was, and I had a little help in this exactly the same vein from J.R. Prowl, who sent me this special link from an announcement about a company or a product called Liquipel. But I think it's only for phones that are being manufactured new. I don't think you can dip your existing phone in it, okay? It's meant to make it completely waterproof.
So you're saying that it will make it waterproof, or it'll only make it so-called water resistant? Which is it?
I can't believe it makes it fully waterproof, okay? Not for, take your phone down on a 300-foot dive, but it's meant to be waterproof as far as a phone needs to be waterproof, okay? They show examples of phones working in fish tanks.
Oh, well, that's pretty impressive. I guess that would get the Musker proof seal then.
Yeah, hey, bottom of a fish tank is pretty good. All I needed to sit on top of a table getting wet, okay? That's pretty good for me. So I don't believe you go down on the Great Barrier Reef with your phone and do calls while you're 50 feet underwater, but I don't think it's that good, okay?
Okay, Jacques Musker.
Right. Not that I would be considering doing that.
Well, I think folks get the point, and that is that if you have any helpful hints like that for the FTR crew, put them out there on Facebook. We appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks, Bob.
We are the people who bring you the FCH Sourcing Network, and that's at fastenersclearinghouse.com. We hope you're all out there using it whenever the need arises, when you need to do a fill-in or a spot buy, or you're looking for a hard-to-find part. And, of course, the other side of that is if you've got inventory to move, please check us out, and we'll drive some sales your way. Brian, you're kind of the big technical boss over on that side of things. And what have you got to report on this episode in terms of new developments?
Well, things that people won't notice a great deal, but they have a sort of a large impact for us. We released a slightly updated web search page today, actually. And while this is not going to bowl anyone over, it's actually quite a major redesign in terms of how it complies with all the web standards. Okay, so it's the start of our plan to upgrade large parts of our website. We have to, ramp up the technology too. Unfortunately, on the web, you can't just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That doesn't work because the web standards are changing so quickly that you can get left back in the dark ages very quickly unless you keep applying the new standards.
Well, speeding back into the dark ages really is a pretty good thing, according to some people, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
We can bring that back in a second. Well, that's good. Keep up the good work in terms of maintaining the site and keeping it functional for everybody. I think a lot of people take it for granted. You always go to FCH, it's always there, but you're one of the guys who keeps the lights on for us, so right on, man.
Right.
Hey, you were doing another little piece of technical wizardry, this time again with the aid of some of our valued community members and listeners, and we put information on the fullythreaded.com website about how users can now more easily get information on subscribing to the podcast through their Android and BlackBerry.
Yeah, this was a really crazy thing. I was just thinking, I'll regularize the instructions on how you subscribe to these podcasts. So I sent a note off to Andy Pells, and I said, so can you just send me some instructions on how you subscribe? And then found out that there's this nasty little secret that in the world of Androids, it's really hard to subscribe to podcasts, and that people that we assumed would be listening to Fully Threaded all the time on their Androids phones were really not able to do so in a way that we're used to. So with a little help from Andy and a little reading, we found out that the easiest way was if we put a QR code that Andy created, and so if you go to the Fully Threaded page, if you've got an Android device, if you scan this QR code, it will lead you through to ask you, do you want to open up Google Listen or open up as a web page? And if you use Google Listen, it will subscribe you to this set of podcasts, okay?
Forging ahead in the modern era. I love it.
Yeah. Our attempt to bring Android users nearly up to par with iPhone users, okay? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Your bias escapes yet again.
I meant to have that. I meant to hide that, okay?
Well, we're all about public service here, and I've got another public service announcement to make, and that is that every year around this time, I get this letter in the mail regarding the NIFS show, and it's about the exhibitors directory in the fair guide. And I think a couple of years ago, I saw an alert come out from the NIFS management people warning everyone about this, but I got it again this year. It's the fair guide, and it looks like a phishing scheme. And one of the giveaways is that the thing is organized out of Bratislava, Slovakia. And basically, they want you to send them some money, and then they'll list you in this fair guide. And needless to say, we never do it, but I just wonder if there's anybody out there who's actually ever done this, because it comes year after year. So somebody must be doing it.
Yeah, someone's making money at it. I mean, so did the people from Bratislava come over to the NIFS show in Las Vegas?
That's a good question. I've never seen anyone that I know of that's from there. I have visited that city.
Yeah, I know you have.
And by the way, speaking of going backwards in time and fuel efficiency, if you ever really want to see the result of Command Economy and what it can produce in terms of its vehicles, next time you go over there, rent a Skoda. Wow, you haven't driven till you've driven one of those.
Mate, you're only starting. A Skoda is like a limousine. It was the most advanced car built in the entire communist world. Go to one of the real crappy ones, the Trabant, which is all that the East Germans managed to build, okay?
Well, it's still the same point. That's what I always think of when I think of Bratislava, though. You have this wonderful landscape of kind of neo-Khrushchev architecture with Skodas peeling around all over the place. It's not good, folks. And they probably don't even get that good at gas mileage.
I have driven a Skoda, I might tell you, okay?
Did it have windshield wipers?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a little bit, not too many creature comforts, but then they were not encouraged in the communist world anyway.
No, it's too bourgeois.
Yeah. Push up and down windows. It was an interesting car, okay?
Well, that's questionable luxury if you ask me, and this is a questionable exhibitor's directory, so I don't know. I'm not sending my money in, and frankly, I don't think anyone else is either, so.
Yeah, in the circular file.
Gone.
Thanks for the warning, okay?
But on a more credible note, I saw a tweet fly by yesterday, and it was from Vicki Lester of the Pacific West Fastener Association, and she was mentioning that the Mel Kirshner Memorial Golf Tournament is coming up soon, and that's happening Monday, May 7th. That's at the Volano Country Club in Chino Hills, California. So it's just about time to get your teams ready, folks, and head out there and play some golf. It's a good cause, and this is Pat West's annual fundraiser for their scholarship program. One of the cool things that Pat West is doing now, and you can go out on their website and see this, but they're doing a little weekly association video update.
Oh, that's a cool idea, yeah.
Yeah, well, you knew it had to come. It's just a little minute or two short, and Marcy Meyer is the narrator. She's got a great voice. And they're just keeping all their members up to speed on what's going on. So good job, Pac West.
Yep.
I keep thinking about the gas prices. It's just really rumbling around in my mind. And I'm thinking the people in California, oh, my God, talk about a car culture. It's got to really be painful for a lot of Californians right now.
Yeah, well, it's painful for a lot of people. I saw this show on the public TV here in Chicago, and there was a group of people, and they were discussing the high prices of gas and what effect it was having, and some guy came on and said, well, it'll force people to use public transport. I nearly fell off my chair. So why should we force people to do something? This sounds like someone in Stalin's bloody planning regime.
Right. Well, I hate to tell you, man, but that's the idea. That's the idea that a lot of people are walking around with. And it's not very smart thinking, because destruction and widespread poverty, it isn't a pretty thing.
Well, it also shows someone who's not thinking that much. I mean, it's really easy to sit in, downtown Chicago, a stone's throw from, Michigan Avenue, and all you have to do is get out of your door and walk somewhere. And, but there's a lot of people in this state who actually have to drive somewhere. They can't live in Michigan Avenue, and they've got to get to work somehow, and trains are not everywhere. This is just the reality. And despite what our president says, there is something the president can do about gas prices.
Well, right now we're living in an environment where there are so many contrived arguments against what you're advocating that it almost seems futile. But the reality is we're sitting on an ocean of fuel in this country. And there are many, many things that we could be doing that would make us not only energy independent, but the ramifications of that mean that many of the economic problems that we're having right now would go away. The country is needlessly suffering at the hands of, let's face it, an administration that believes in a command economy and that's prepared to use bureaucracy to enforce its will. And it's stupid thinking, but that's where we are, my friend.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with actually looking for alternative means of, powering cars. In my own personal view is that the logical device is going to be one of these fuel cells. And if they want to dump a bit of money into trying to get really more efficient fuel cells, I don't mind that. That's, to me, smarter than, wasting or frittering $500 million on this Swedish or Finnish car company that can't produce a car.
Well, I totally agree. There's a lot of innovation that we need to do to sustain our economy and our society, but going backwards and destroying is not the answer. And we got to tie this back to the fastener world too. We've got the results of the February FDI survey coming up with Holden Lewis in a few minutes, and the sentiment is really still pretty strong, which is a very good thing. People are succeeding despite the pressures, but I always worry about how long we can endure this,
Right. There has to be a little bit of a ray of sunshine at the end of the political tunnel.
Yeah, I agree. Well, one thing's for sure, Bri, and that is that despite what you hear in the news, it's always good to get the perspective of someone who's actually in the trenches out there doing it. And with us now, we have such a person, and that is Tyson Clayton of Desert Fasteners and Supply. Hey, Tyson, welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Pretty good, mate.
Yeah, considering.
Yeah,
sure.
Right.
Well, what are gas prices out by you?
They're getting rough, and they are making things even more difficult than they already are. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we've been hammering on that one a little bit on today's episode. So you're out there in the Las Vegas area, and that's a part of the country that took a pretty big hit when the bubble popped a couple years back. And we'd like to hear about what that's meant for Desert Fasteners. What's Desert Fasteners and Supply all about, Tyson?
Well, Desert Fasteners is a company I started 3 years ago, actually in the real trenches of the recession, at least out here. I left a company where I had a really good salesman job selling fasteners to pursue, I guess, my entrepreneurship dreams and open up this company. And we've just based it on vendor and customer relationships, and that's been keeping us competitive price-wise and keeping our customers happy. I mean, it is brutal. Everything is price, and we've been able to do that but offer our service at the same time, and just very happy with the growth that we've had in this very tough economy.
What markets are you serving predominantly?
Our biggest is residential from concrete slab up, mostly. I sell a lot of concrete materials, framing, hardware and fasteners, lath and roof fasteners, door and trim guys. I sell a lot of the brads to those guys as well, brad nails.
Right.
And so that's most of it. We are growing and doing what we have to do and getting into other markets. Industrial-wise, we've basically just got most of the market share in the pallet building business out here, and that's helped our business quite a bit, and that's some good industrial business that we needed.
Right on. Well, having said that, then, it sounds like you're pretty well concentrated. Your customers are in the Las Vegas area.
Yeah, they are. I mean, we do go, Vegas is basically pretty much all of our business. We do go down into northern Arizona, into Kingman and Lake Havasu area a little bit, but definitely Vegas is where we concentrate.
So we were talking a couple weeks back, which is when you and I first talked, and what really inspired me was that you were describing how you were succeeding in this really rough market, and I want to hear about that. Just before we get to that, though, maybe this is a silly question. Do you go to the Vegas show every year?
I haven't, which is weird. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, no, I know. I need to get out there, but lately I've just been so busy trying to run this business that even though it's pretty much only a few minutes away, I haven't been able to make it. But there are a few shows that I definitely don't miss. I'm a staff member, and I go to that every year, and that's kind of all over the country. And it really, we are a staff to house. That is really the type of products that we carry are the staffed materials. I do go to the World of Concrete every year that's here in Vegas, so I try to make it to as many shows as I can, but I have not made it to the Vegas Fastener Show, as weird as that is. But
you probably consider if there was a free fully threaded radio T-shirt involved, right?
Absolutely. I'd be there for that, no problem.
You'll have to beat me to get it, okay?
Last year we gave them all away, so he's still waiting on us.
Yeah, there's a rather long discussion about these T-shirts.
Shoot, they sound pretty cool. Yeah, I'm going to definitely have to request one of those.
Oh, you're going to be impressed.
Oh, mate, it takes more than requesting one. Do you think I haven't asked
for
one?
I got you.
Well, so sitting here in the Midwest, we've read the headlines, and it sounded like Las Vegas really got hit in the chops pretty bad. I mean, has it been that tough?
It really has. I mean, we, before that, we had just some crazy growth. It was just, if you walk into a customer's office, I'm a distributor, you would always leave with an order, and, they just needed it before, that was the thing, is if you could have it out there fast, you got the order. And it was just too unsustainable, and we went from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. We were the highest in foreclosures and, over like 15% unemployment. So it got brutal. I mean, plenty of family members of mine have been laid off and on unemployment and had to look for different businesses, totally different types of lines of work. So yes, the the news is true that it is and did get very brutal out here. But this is the business I know. This is, I had a lot of customers and a lot of contacts that I knew, and I just believed that if I kept my overhead at a certain level that I could make it work, and that was kind of what I ran with.
Right. It's the same view that we would imagine and hope our friends in Washington would think of when they're trying to set their budgets.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they look at their budget every day like I do. I wish they would, but I don't think they do.
So you're watching overhead, but the other side of the equation has got to be something on your mind too. What are you doing to grab that business? I mean, what's the secret to surviving in a market like that, Tyson?
Well, absolutely. I'm a salesman at heart. I mean, that's what I do. So, some of the administrative things that come along with a business owner aren't fun, but necessary. But I am a salesman at heart, so I'm out beating on doors and trying to find new opportunities. And surprisingly enough, they are building houses again now. They are, we just, get a decent amount of releases every month, and there's some multifamily going because not a lot of people can qualify for houses, so they're building apartments. Selling to quite a bit of remodels for the people buying those foreclosures that have been pillaged by the previous owner.
Yeah.
And so they're buying those houses. They're adding, casitas in the backyard, or they're adding patios. So yes, the sales solves a lot of problems, and that's always been my philosophy, and people that have taught me this business's philosophy, and that's definitely how we've done it. And we've just gone and grown sales, and in the 3 years we've been here, we've grown from zero to a pretty decent sized company for this economy.
Good. Now, is any of your business in the commercial? You've talked about the residential. What about commercial?
It is some, but not as much. Most of our business is in the residential. These past few years, there has been so little commercial because we got overbuilt on the commercial end. We were building casinos out here like left and right. And, as soon as they finished that city center project out here, there really hasn't been anything. The only commercial jobs out here every now and then is a McDonald's will build something, or just some little chain restaurant or something like that. But there's so much inventory of rental space here that it's just not a big business.
Okay.
And that's been the past 3 years. As of late, though, we have seen some of it coming back because when you build nothing for 3 years, it will come back. They're just sucking up some of that inventory. So we've been selling some screws and fasteners to some of the tenant improvements for some of these buildings to get set up for new industries coming to town and those kind of things. So we are seeing that, and that is definitely an area that we are going to focus on more. But we've just kind of gone after what was my specialty first, and we've kind of built that business, and we are growing into commercial more and more.
Okay, good. I mean, you would see that would, if anything, the economy picks up a bit, commercial will begin to pick up. I don't mean building casinos, but I mean building buildings that people actually do work in, okay? Yeah,
and, and they are, but like I said, it's just, there's so much inventory. Right now, you couldn't build a building, with some warehouse space and some office space for what you could go buy one for.
Okay.
So, I mean, I have people that I'm friends with that are getting into other businesses, and they're like, yeah, I want to build a building or and get my company in there. And I just say, hey, go take a look what's out there for sale. And they're like, wow, there's these nice buildings that are for sale that I couldn't even come close to building it brand new for the price that they're moving them for. So yeah, we're dealing with some of those issues on the commercial end.
Can you peg any of your success to the demise of your competitors? Have you seen some of them go away?
Yes, absolutely. I actually started my business, and I don't know how familiar you are with the Southwest, but there was a big company out here called Orco Supply, and they basically closed their doors a week after I started mine. And they were a very big Southwest, mostly residential hardware store.
Just out of pure fear?
Out of fear? No, not of a small guy like me. They knew of me from my previous businesses and stuff, but no. Fear. Yeah. They just, from what I understand, the owner was done shoveling money into the fire. So he just wrapped it up, and then since then, the 3 years I've been in business, I would say another 2 or 3 have gone out of business, and a lot of those customers have come over to us. So as sad as it is for people closing doors, because that means more, loss of jobs, it has benefited my company.
Well, do you get the sense, and I know this is only going to be anecdotal, but do you get the sense that it might have hit bottom and you're coming out of it, or where do you see that?
I would say yes. I would say we have leveled off for the past, 8 months or so. It's been kind of flat and kind of consistent. And through our market share, we were actually growing. But as of really what's happening, like the amount of homes are being built and those kind of things have been flat, which is good. It's not down anymore. Home prices are stabilizing out here. And so I believe that we are at bottom, and I see positive signs ahead. Actually, just next month, I've been told by a bunch of my contractors that they've got a bunch of starts coming for single-family houses. So that's good news for us and our whole town. That's a lot of people that get to work. And I've actually just landed a couple multifamily apartment projects. Some of the hardware for those. And I've just talked to some other customers saying that there's some more in the pipeline. So I'm hearing some positive things for sure.
Well, that is good news. It sounds like you're doing a few things right, and the economy's helping you out a little bit, so you need that combo.
Right. You're exactly right. We're basically a market share. Our market share is actually pretty good. It's just such a small market from what it was. We just need it to grow with us, and that will take us to the next level. I mean, we've gone out and done a lot of things to take a lot of the market that's out there, and as things just slowly get better, it doesn't even have to get much better for things to get a lot better for us here at our company.
Well, we're hoping to hear a lot more of that. And not to put a damper on all that, I think I saw a press release come out maybe 3-4 weeks ago. Gold's Gym, the downtown Vegas location, after many years is closing down. I wasn't too happy to hear that, but you didn't go to that one, did you?
I didn't. No, yeah. I didn't go to that one. But yeah, those things, they're sad. I mean, we just had another home builder here in town go bankrupt, a local builder, or file for bankruptcy, I should say. From what I understand, they're going to be able to operate under their bankruptcy. But yeah, the things where the people still had lots of debt to deal with, and there's still a lot of struggles to be had out here. A lot of things to work through. But I think it's starting to get better. And we come here every day. My father actually works with me. He's my partner here. I actually worked at his hardware store when I was young, and that's how I got into this business. I've been doing it for 15 years, and I'm 30, so I've been doing it for a long time, and only 30. But he's now working here, and he knows this business very well. So he and I are just here working like crazy to make this business work.
You don't consider yourself a fastener brat, do you?
No.
You don't actually sound like a fastener brat.
I'm not. Life would probably be much easier. I'd have more money in the bank, I think, if that was the case. But no, I'm happy to be brought up in this business. There's jokes around that I was actually born on a pallet. So, I just have it in my blood to be an entrepreneur. I worked for a big corporation after my father sold his business to a big corporation, and you know, I learned a lot of things that they do well. I figured out a lot of things that they don't do well, and I just always knew at some point that I wanted to have my own business. And I found the opportunity. I finished college, and I had the experience, and found some good investors, and you know, was able to get it going. You know, and this town, Vegas, and I'm not sure, you know, about much else, but I was raised out here. It's kind of an entrepreneurial town. There's a lot of people my age that are, I guess, out just trying to hustle, trying to do their own thing, and it's just it's good. I mean, I couldn't be happier in the position I am, and being able to, you know, own my own business.
Well, this has been a very uplifting conversation, and I think you've affected the entire tenor of the show, Tyson. And so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
How do people get in touch with you?
They can check out our website. It's www.thefastenerpros.com. They can go on there, just on the contact us, and the email comes directly to me, and I'd be happy to talk to any of the people that contact from this show.
Well, it's a good-looking website, and we wish you nothing but success, and we hope you'll keep in touch with us and let us know how it's going.
I will do. Thank you very much for letting me be on.
Also, we're expecting you at NIFS next year to pick up your free T-shirt.
Right.
I'll be there.
That means you do have to turn up and so Mike McGuire.
And then this is my town. I'll take you out here. I'll show you around.
Well, you're on for that one.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
2 men, 1 server, a fastener dog, and a stunning lack of more lucrative alternatives. It's Fully Threaded Radio.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2012 Beacon Fasteners have arrived to redefine the notion of superior engineering. See one and behold the ultimate synthesis of form and function, style and substance. Hear one as the head turns with inexorable force. Touch one and feel the fire-forged steel standing in stark contrast to the sleek and graceful lines of the body. But to drive one, to drive a 2012 Beacon Fastener is to experience a harmony of power and performance that surpasses all expectations. At any speed, at any torque, each 2012 Beacon Fastener model offers a level of handling unparalleled in its class, a feat made possible by the knowledge acquired through rigorous and systematic test driving, conducted at our own industry-renowned proving grounds, nestled in the heartland of America. And with the 2012 model year, we proudly introduce the newest high-performance addition to our lineup, the Machine Screw Series. Call toll-free at 800-669-2658 for your own private consultation with a Beacon representative and learn a whole new definition of performance. The 2012 Beacon Fasteners have arrived. Drive one today.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
Hi, this is Marty Martinez from the LA branch of StealthFast Incorporated. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on the online fastener squawk box. Hey, we should have asked Clayton if he finds himself in need of making frequent high-speed trips to Fresno.
Only if he was really thinking of going to Sacramento, I guess.
Well, I'm sure our rulers have plans for that, my friend.
Right, I'm sure all these high-speed trains end up going to some state capital. I mean, that seems to be the way it is.
Par for the course.
Yeah.
Well, coming up, we have our conversation with Robbie Gilchrist, and I think people are really going to enjoy this conversation. We mentioned the subject of vending machines during the discussion, and of course, Fastenal comes into it. I want to point out that Bloomberg Business Week recently came out with an article that flew across the Twitter sphere. It's dated March 5th, although strangely I saw this on March 3rd. Shows you just how fast Twitter really is, folks.
Maybe it exists in an alternate universe that's a couple of days ahead.
Yeah, well, when you get off of Twitter, you sometimes feel like you lost some time. You don't know where it went. I give you that.
See, we call these things fringe events, okay?
Well, whatever they're called, this article talks about Fastenal founder Bob Kurlan's original vision of selling fasteners out of vending machines. And that, of course, was the supplemental question on last month's FDI survey. So I'll put this link up on the Facebook page. You're really going to want to take a look at this article about Fastenal, but ties a whole bunch of things that we've been talking about together.
Right. And something that we sort of pointed out in the last podcast when we were discussing these results, because it was plainly evident that all of the big boys are really diving deep into these vending machines, and it was quite clear that the regular distributors were paying no attention to them at all.
Right.
So it seemed to us that people should be looking at this question again.
Well, Holden Lewis is going to talk a little bit about that, and also the current survey's supplemental question, which had to do with reshoring. Kind of some interesting feedback on that one, too.
Right. Yep.
Hey, there was a question that came in from one of the recipients of the February FDI summary report, and he was asking, what does the abbreviation DSR stand for? Because Holden uses that in the summary, and it stands for daily sales rate. So any of you who received the PDF, that should answer the question.
Oh, what does a PDF stand for?
Actually, it stands for Portable Document Format, Adobe's universal standard. But are you a big fan of TLAs? Is that what you're saying, Bray?
TBAs, to be announced, okay.
Of course, the king of all acronyms was PCMCIA, which of course stood for People Can't Memorize Computer Industry Acronyms.
That's right. Now we're about acronymed out, okay?
I think so. That's enough gibberish for this segment. But before we get to the Fastener News Report, let's thank our sponsors. And they are, of course, StealthFast and Beacon Fasteners and Components. And this edition of the Fastener News Report is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics.
Thanks to all of you.
Absolutely. And thanks to everybody for listening to Fully Threaded Radio. Here's Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Brian and Eric, and greetings to all the Fully Threaded Radio listeners out there. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. The men's college basketball tournament is just around the corner, and since I am focused on fasteners, I have created a unique way of picking my teams to watch this tournament. I cross-reference the AP and ESPN Top 25 rankings with the top 5 fastener-producing states in the country: California, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. This process produced 6 fastener-friendly teams for me to watch: Ohio State, Michigan, St. Mary's, San Diego State, and Temple. Surprisingly, none of the current top 4 teams in the country are located in a top fastener state. Of those teams, Kentucky is at the top when fastener sales are considered, so I will be watching them too while staying focused on the fastener industry. In today's top story, we're going to get the February 2012 results of the Fastener Distributor Index Survey, also known as FDI. Also in today's report, we have some newsmaker headlines and the back page of this report featuring genius comments on gas prices. We will get to all of that and the February FDI story right after this.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
fastenersclearinghouse.com. Search and source from over 500,000 line items, all just a mouse click away and available at no charge. When the need arises, you won't find a better place to locate hard-to-find fastener inventory. It's where you need to be.
This is Joe Truckee of Cal Fasteners, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for us.
This is Robert Wanzer, and Fasteners Clearinghouse works for American Imperial.
This is Andy Pell from ScrewCrew.com, and FCH works for the fastener industry.
Join the sourcing network now and show your inventory to a whole new market. Turn slow movers into cash. List up to 10,000 line items. Show them to distributors only or to the world. FastenersClearinghouse.com. It's where you need to be. Mike McNulty.
At the end of last month, Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets and the FCH Sourcing Network collected and analyzed the second set of Fastener Distributor Index survey responses. FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the USA fastener industry. To get the February 2012 FDI results, we talked to Holden Lewis. Hi, Holden. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report to talk about the Fastener Distributors Index.
Hello again, Mike. Thanks for having me.
I understand that the feedback on the first FDI reports was good, so I'm anxious to hear about the second round of results. What can you tell us about the FDI in February?
Well, the second round of results for the FDI were the broad headlines, still pretty good. As you know, we use this as an index where anything north of 50 means that the sector is expanding, and anything south of 50 means that it's contracting. In January, the fastener sector was expanding, and the FDI came in at 57.3, so a very good number. The February figure was a little bit below that, but still at 55.9, which again, don't get too sort of jaded by the shift in direction. A 56 reading is a very good reading as these indices go, and I think it still continues to suggest that business conditions within the fastener sector remain very good. Now, looking through the data, I will say this. I don't think that February improved over January at the same rate that January improved over December. Whether that's a function of seasonality, whether it's truly there was a little bit of loss of momentum, it's hard to say exactly what the source is, but it still is a relatively healthy environment. I would think that your listeners out there should be feeling it as that way, and I think that they should be feeling it that way. I think that as important, however, as the February number was the outlook number for February. Remember, we asked respondents
whether they expect business activities to be, higher, lower, or the same 6 months from now. And 71% of the respondents indicated that 6 months from now, they think that business conditions will be higher than they are today. That is almost unchanged from what we saw in January. And I think that, again, setting aside the slight downdraft in February from January, which I'm not overly worried about, when I see an outlook and I see sentiment that is positive like that, that tells me that overall business conditions remain fairly solid. So those conditions that your listeners are feeling should be very good ones.
Yeah, you're right. The numbers aren't that much different from January to February. It's slightly lower, but it's a positive number, and that 71% numbers. That's a pretty positive number.
I would agree completely. Like I said, I see really no worry in the downshift from January to February. I see no worry in that number. Remember, numbers move around all the time. And when you're talking about a change in one, within an index level that's overall very healthy, again, anything north of 50 is a very strong reading. It's just not something to get overly worried about. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the rate of improvement in February over January was somewhat less in the preceding month. But some of that winds up being noise. I think the thing to focus on is the overall number is positive. The outlook remains very positive, and people should still be trying to take advantage of a market which is growing, healthy, and receptive to new ideas.
I think this time around you took a look at some of the geographical results. What is that telling you?
We did. What we try to do is we try to see, where there's some trend about where the responses are coming from. And what we found this time is we do take a look at various end markets. We do take a look at various geographies that people are competing within. And what we found was that automotive, in terms of end markets, automotive really set itself out as being relatively strong. And when you see the automotive sales data that came out only a few days ago, frankly, you can understand how that could happen. The other industries really didn't distinguish themselves. I will say that construction looked like it was a little bit softer. And again, we had a little bit of confirmation of that in the sense that Fastenal reported their monthly DSRs this morning, and they also reported that construction was a little bit softer in February than it was in January. So, these readings do seem to be reflecting some of what's going on out there. Geographically, again, the sectors, the areas that seem to set themselves apart, the Northeast and the Midwest seem to be a bit stronger than average. Again, I think that Midwest in particular probably is telling us something about the general state of industrial demand. But then the Southwest and the West seem to be somewhat softer, which again may simply reflect a little bit weaker conditions in the construction markets. But that's what we tended to see in terms of end market and tended to see in terms of geography. So wherever your listeners are focused, that should give them a sense of what the space is seeing.
Right. I know you look at other, general economic data too. And then we're kind of early in the life of the Fastener Distributor Index, but are you seeing anything like mirroring other indexes that you see in the economy?
Yes, it's true. We are very early in the life of the FDI here, and I think that it's probably somewhat treacherous to lay too much emphasis on a single month, particularly when we've got now 2 under our belt. However, I do take it as a positive that the FDI backed off a very little bit in February versus January, and I think we saw a very similar trend from the broader economic index, which is the PMI, the Purchasers Managers Index, which also fell off a little bit in February versus the January level. And again, to the extent that the PMI coming off, or that the FDI coming off a little bit sequentially, reflects something in the market. I would also point out that Fastenal just reported its monthly numbers earlier this morning, and they were a little bit softer than what they saw in January. So again, it's early. I think that as we continue to build up more responses, I think we have a nice stable of responders here that represent a good chunk of revenues. But as we continue to build up that stable and we continue to build up a history of this FDI, I take it as a good sign that early on it seems to be getting some confirmation from some other sources, and that only makes me more optimistic that as we build up the responder base and as we get more history under our belt, that this will become a meaningful and valuable indicator that people are going to want to be participating in and watching.
Absolutely. Now, I want to remind listeners that the results of the Fastener Distributor Index, as well as your analysis, appears in a bi-monthly column in the issues of Fastener Technology International. The first one appeared in the February issue, and your second column will appear in the April issue of 2012. And that magazine can be read online at fastenertech.com. And we look forward to hearing some results coming up in March.
Yep, I'm looking forward to doing the next one. And let me mention one more thing as well, Mike. I don't think that we've mentioned in the past, but each of the surveys also comes with a supplemental question. So it's the standard questions every month about demand and outlook and pricing and things of that sort. But we also ask a specific question that we think people in the industry are interested in plunging a little deeper on. Last month we asked about the prevalence of vending. It's a channel that Fastenal in particular is being very aggressive with, and we're sort of asking about how much others are using it. And what we found that month was that, frankly, most people aren't really considering using vending to any significant degree, which we think, could be a bit of a risk to the smaller distributor if vending takes hold and they're not active in it. This month we asked the question about reshoring. There seems to be a lot of talk about the possibility of North American manufacturing pulling production back from overseas and into the U.S. Again, there's a lot of talk about it. I will say that this month, when we sort of polled the people who responded, the number of people who see reshoring happen is pretty well balanced against those that see production still leaving. And the large majority of respondents, about 2/3 of the respondents, frankly have not noted any discernible trend whatsoever in the idea of reshoring. So that's not to say that it is or isn't going to happen down the road, but there's a lot of talk about reshoring today, and at least on the ground, respondents don't seem to see anything that would suggest that there's a trend towards that effort. So just something else I think that this survey brings to the table every month. Kind of a typical bell curve result there, a little bit. Yeah, pretty typical. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, you're doing collecting a lot of good information for the fastener industry out there, and we look forward to talking to you next month with the March results. Sounds great. I look forward to it. All right. Thanks, Holden. Thanks, Mike. That was Holden Lewis of BB&T Capital Markets. Next up, today's top fastener newsmaker headlines. General Manager Susan Hurley reports that the 16th National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo, scheduled for October in Las Vegas, is enjoying record early sales. Susan says that about 400 companies filling nearly 600 exhibit spaces are already under contract, and 800 total booths are expected to be filled by showtime. Susan expects the 2012 show to outperform 2011 in terms of attendance and exhibits. Manasquan Premium Fasteners, LLC, a provider of stainless steel fasteners to the residential, commercial, and marine construction industries, has celebrated its 25th anniversary. Founded by Bob and Linda Day in 1987 as a business in a box operating from their Brick, New Jersey home, Manasquan has become a fastener resource for local builders and do-it-yourselfers, as well as for international builders and contractors located throughout North America, the Middle East, Latin America, and Asia. The Women in the Fastener Industry Association announced the election of its board of directors and executive officers. The Wi-Fi board is made up of Mary Lou Adderman of the Adderman Company, Pam Berry of Advanced Components, Joanne Bayless of International Fasteners, Ruth Dowling of Jinling Fasteners, Julie Caravan Mortensen of Lucky 13 Fasteners, Beth Van Zant of Timberline Fasteners, Sandy Wilson of Spanar Company, and Chris Young of Hudson Fasteners. The Wi-Fi executive officers are Mary Lou Adderman as president, vice presidents Pam Berry and Chris Young, Ruth Dowling as secretary, and the treasurer is Susie Cravens. Mudge Fasteners was chosen by Corona Aluminum Company to supply the fasteners for the upcoming expansion of the Long Beach Airport in California. Founded in 1975, Mudge is a family-owned and operated company. Aerospace fastener distributor BE Aerospace appointed Michael Senft and John Waits to its board of directors. Arthur Wegner retired from the BE board of directors for health reasons, effective February 29, 2012. And our number one fastener newsmaker headline is that Elgin Fastener Group, LLC, has acquired Quality Bolt and Screw of Brecksville, Ohio.
Founded in 1958, Quality Bolt and Screw is a manufacturer of custom-engineered cold-headed, cold-formed bolts, pins, studs, chain, military, and other custom fasteners. Elgin Fastener Group, based in Versailles, Indiana, is made up of 5 other fastener manufacturers, a metal finishing company, and an engineering and international fastener procurement division. Finally, let's turn to the back page to look at gasoline and genius comments. Gas prices are now in the $4 per gallon zone, which means lots of megamind politicians are weighing in with genius comments like, high fossil fuel prices are good for us, or we need to get our gas prices closer to Europe's, or we should be riding bikes to work, or we just need higher mileage standards from Washington. This type of talk reminds me of other government epiphanies, such as unemployment checks are the fastest way to create jobs, weak currencies are the key to growing exports, mandated free services are needed to reduce costs, and tax rebates for people that don't pay taxes are required for fairness. Oh, and let's not forget the notion that the government should be printing, borrowing, and spending money at record levels so that the economy doesn't slow down. Hey, I might be totally focused on the fastener industry, but I suspect that gas prices, as well as most economic issues, should be left to free markets, which are made up of individuals and companies competing for survival and success, as opposed to leaving it to masterminds and elected governments, which are created by people and bureaucracies that naturally try to control the outcome and insulate themselves from the pressures of competition and accountability. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Remember to send your news, pictures, comments, and corrections or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
Fastener man and philanthropist Robbie Gilchrist is up next. Thanks for listening, everyone. It's Fully Threaded.
This season, the House of Beacon is pleased to offer its latest collection of nice threads, the Beacon Machine Screw. Sleek and metallic, sturdy and sharp, the Beacon Machine Screw is a revolution in cutting-edge style and clean lines, offering a modern twist on classic proportions. As with all our collections, thread forming, thread cutting, high-low tapping, SEMs and sheet metal screws, the Beacon Machine Screw may also be complemented by a RoHS-compatible coat, an absolute must in Europe and all other discerning corners of the globe. Don't be the last member of your industry to use Beacon Machine Screws. Call 800-669-2658 to request a full catalogue of all our nice threads. Or have one of our highly polished representatives assist you in finding your unique size and style. And should you fail to find the piece that suits you perfectly, Beacon Fasteners will proudly tailor it to your exact specifications. Be the envy of all your competitors with stylish new Beacon Machine Screws. Beacon Fasteners and Components. Nice threads.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
This is Tom Buddenbone. I am the membership chair for the NFDA and the partner in Technology Components Southwest. I'd like to invite you to consider membership in the NFDA. Some of the benefits to membership include tremendous industry networking, business education via the Institute for Trend Research, economic insights with the quarterly trend reports from a service that's provided to us, global perspective when buying and selling all over the world, tremendous benefit in information sources from Asia and Europe, gives you an opportunity to strengthen your relationship with other members, both suppliers and distributors. We offer an annual meeting that has ESPS session, which are a series of 30-minute scheduled meetings with existing companies you do business with, and more importantly, for companies that you don't do business with and want to learn a little more about. Our goal is to gain new members, both distributors and associates or manufacturers and large importers. And we also want to invite back those that have dropped out of NFDA in the past due to some of the economic issues of the past couple of years. It's a great association with great members. Please take a peek at www.nfda-fastener.org, or you can call the office for NFDA at area code 312-673-4900. Thank you again, Tom Buddenbone with Technology Components and the NFDA.
Hi, this is Julie Babcock with Beacon Fasteners. You are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
We've talked to fastener people from every level of the industry, but we're breaking new ground here on episode 41 as our guest on today's feature segment is a first to have his own foundation and a scholarship for the fastener industry in his name. Robbie Gilchrist is well known in the fastener industry and has been for more than a couple of years. He currently operates Capital Marketing out of High Point, North Carolina, and he joins us now.
Hi guys, how are you today?
We're doing really well. We've had a couple of false starts here, but I think everything is all systems go.
Good deal.
The technology
is best, right?
Right. For the moment, okay.
That's right. We've had dead batteries and rain delays and hail delays and fastener dog interjections, but I think we're ready to get things going.
Okay.
Hey, Robbie, we've heard nothing but good things about you. We've had you in our sights for a long time, and we're glad that we could finally connect with you and get you in on an episode of Fully Threaded. You've got quite a story, and a lot of people know you from years of experience here in the industry. But if you could, why don't you let us in on some of your background, and we could take it from there.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I listened to you, for quite a while, and I think it's really ambitious that you guys have put together this opportunity to share information in the industry.
Thank you.
I was going to say some would say it's crazy, but we don't think so.
I don't think it's crazy either, Brian. If a lot of things that people thought were crazy through the years, if you hadn't have done them, we wouldn't have some of the great successes that we've got today, you know.
I hear that.
But I stumbled into this fastener business in 1972. I took a part-time summer job with a distributor, and as the old saying goes, never left the industry. I stayed on with those guys for about 13 years, and I grew as the company grew and learned and forced myself to learn as much as I could about the industry. In 1985, I started Capital Fasteners in High Point, North Carolina, with another gentleman, and we grew that company over 13, 14 years, and in 1999, I sold the company to Questron Distribution. Stayed with Questron for a couple years, did some consulting work, and then started this marketing consulting business in 2002. So this 2012 here marks 40 years in the business.
Wow.
We've enjoyed the fastener business and met some great people at the same time.
That's right. You met one very special person in this industry, didn't you?
I surely did. And she's been with me for almost 25 years now. I met my wife at a Southeastern Fastener Association meeting in 1986, September of 1986, and we were married in April of 87. So this year we'll celebrate 25 years.
Congratulations.
Well, so you're a great proponent of the fastener associations then?
Well, if you're looking for friends and industry knowledge, the opportunity to learn more about other businesses, more about your own business. Yes, I'm a big proponent of fastener associations, or any trade association for that matter. Not only am I involved with the Southeastern, I was members of the NFDA national group for many years. I was on the board of the NFDA. I was president of the Southeastern and on the board a total of 3 times. I'm a member of STAFTA. I used to be a member of NAW, the National Association of Wholesale Distributors. And at one time I was involved with the ISA, the Industrial Supply Association. So what you learn in a trade association is much, much deeper, and I encourage everyone to get involved with a trade association other than just thinking they need to go to a trade show or an industry show of sorts like a Las Vegas. Those are great to pick up literature and make those first introductions, but you get to know the people much better at a trade association when you can sit down and have a lengthy conversation, a meal, or just pull them over to the side and ask a few questions about what they do and how you might could do yours better, kind of thing. So I strongly encourage people to participate in the trade associations, whether they're regional or national, either one.
Yeah, we believe that too.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success meeting people, well, just like yourself, through associations, and so we're big proponents. And I'm sure you know, during our last episode, we had Joanne Bayless from your alma mater, Southeastern Fastener Association, with us, and we'll be meeting up pretty soon in Birmingham for the CFA conference in April.
Look forward to it. I'll be there and look forward to meeting you in person.
Well, before we go too much farther, I know a lot of people are probably going to be interested in hearing your assessment of what we can see out there currently in the fastener industry, both in your region and in general. And if you'd care to give us that assessment, we'd all like to hear it.
Not only just in the fastener business, but business in general is doing much better. People are, the distributors, the end users that I talk to, and are not near as hesitant to purchase product as they have been. I see more production going on than what we've had in the last 2 or 3 years. The only area that I see that's still, pretty weak in this region for sure is residential construction. Commercial construction is getting better, certainly not to the extent that it was 4 or 5 years ago. But the manufacturing sector is good. All the distributors that I come in contact with are much better than they are. A couple of distributors had record years in 2011, which is amazing considering the big downturn most people had in 2009. Yeah. So I believe the industry is much better than what our news people lead us to believe, and I think it's going to continue to get stronger throughout the rest of 2012.
Well, that's an optimistic prognosis. Let me ask you this. In your region, did you see a lot of fastener distributors go away over the couple of past tough years we've had?
The ones that went away were the ones that were probably floundering to begin with, smaller ones that had a lot of their sales based on 1 or 2 particular accounts. Maybe they might just been even one account in some cases, and one in particular that I think of. But the ones that had stability to them, they either downsized or got more aggressive and maybe found some business that somebody else wasn't taking good care of. We did lose a few, but the other side of it is that we didn't gain any either. I haven't seen a startup company in several years.
Oh, that's an interesting comment. Okay.
Well, and why do you think that is?
I don't think our young people have the entrepreneurship that some of us of our generation, or I should say maybe my generation, have. Not only have they been scared, I'll say, or haven't had the opportunities possibly, or maybe they don't want to take that big step, because it is a big step. It's a huge responsibility to start something like that. You see, in particularly the fastener business, it was really a thrill at one time for most people to say that I own my own company. A big portion of the industry today, I think, has gotten kind of complacent. They know they can get a job. Jobs are okay, but to own a company, to grow a company, that thrill, that entrepreneurship, really the young people need to step forward and take those steps. I mean, it's okay to fail, but you're not going to fail if you don't try to begin with to do something. I just believe that entrepreneurship in the fastener business needs to take another step forward.
Well, it's interesting to hear you describe it that way because, I don't know, maybe I'm just conditioned to think this way, but it seems like people are less willing to take those kinds of risks because they see the environment is not as conducive to entrepreneurship. In other words, all the overhead seems to be going up. The taxation seems to be going up. We've been talking a lot about energy skyrocketing on this episode on all of those things. And I don't know. I think that's probably a contributing factor too. Do you not agree with that?
I agree with that, but I also know that there's ways to manage that. And that's part of taking the initiative to go out, and do it. There are facilities to help them manage that. You got to have the desire, the ambition, and the goals in order to go out and build a business like that. So.
And you also need some sort of encouragement. I mean, at the moment, clearly as in my view, I shouldn't say clearly, the current administration has a rather poisonous view of industry and private enterprise. And I think that can't help but reflect on people's enthusiasm for getting into their own companies. I mean, they don't see anything coming out of, I'd say, our president that would indicate that it's anything that you should do. You should become a political agitator instead of a businessman.
That's a good statement. I like that. You're right. The encouragement is lacking from, and I think it's maybe possibly a generation or two there that didn't get that encouragement or didn't have that, the opportunity to learn from another generation that had those skills and ideas.
Well, there's no question that the habits of a society become that society's personality, if you will, or the characteristics of a society will be more conducive to one way of thinking over another and over time. And I think your point, Robbie, is well taken, that if a generation doesn't have a mentor generation, then you could definitely lose a step there. So that's an interesting question. I don't know that we necessarily intended to have a sociology lesson on this episode of Fully Threaded, but it looks like that's what we're getting.
We just hit on all the topics out of that.
Right.
What do you think about innovation in terms of the fastener world these days? I mean, do you see any areas where there's innovation or perhaps opportunities for innovation? I know you work with a lot of different companies. And as an example of that, the whole area of vending machines. We've heard that out of Fastenal recently, that they're really driving hard ahead in that. I mean, that would be one example of what I'm talking about. Do you see any of that with some of the companies that you're working with?
No, I don't see any of the vending machines in my area. Again, I'm not in the plant sector, every day to see who's put one in. But I was interested during your last session whenever it was Mark that made the comment about how many vending machines that Fastenal had, and I think it's a good opportunity for the fastener people and the industrial people. You can put a lot of things in those vending machines. I remember back in the mid-'90s whenever that concept first came out, and we couldn't give those things away. We tried all we could do to try to get people to get involved with those things. And it's like any new concept, it takes a while to massage it in and,
right.
Expose people to it. I think some areas of the country, kind of bit onto it pretty good. But one of the big drawbacks to it back in that day was technology. Traceability of the material inside the machine was not near what I'm sure it is today. Even, with the barcodes, or maybe they got chips on them or something today where they track it a little bit better. But that was one of the drawbacks early on. But I'm glad to see that innovation, take hold, because it makes it available in all portions of the manufacturing facility to get those consumable items rather than an employee running around the building trying to find a storeroom guy to get it for him. So I think it's a good opportunity.
Right. There was a time when you're talking about the early days, I mean, you couldn't fit a little baby computer inside one of those things that would be the size of the thing itself. So now it's just some little chip they're hiding in a corner somewhere.
That's very well said, yes.
Well, I don't think the original vending machines that Bob Curlin had in mind way back when had those little computer microchips in them either, so don't feel too bad, guys.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Could be right.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you seen any kind of a shift in the recent months or years as a result of what's been going on with the master distributors and the shifting in that area?
They're still there. They're still growing. I do know that Annexed or sold off one of their divisions a year or so ago, one of their aerospace division. Those companies are doing very well. They kind of maybe even stifle some of the regional distributors because of the programs that come out from the national account aspect of it. I think there's room for everybody out there. The national guys are still growing.
Do you see that continuing then?
Absolutely, it'll continue on, and as long as there's a business out there to purchase or one to grow, those national guys will be out there to get them. I don't think that Fastenal has any plans to stop opening branches. Last thing I read, they were going to open up a few more this year, so they obviously have some ambitions of their own to grow with.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think they're trying to stand still at all.
Yeah, they're hanging out at about 2,800 currently, as I understand it.
That's a lot. And it's interesting, some of the places where Fastenal put some of their branches, and again, I'll tell you this, you want to use it, I still laugh about it, guys, but in Charlotte, North Carolina, Fastenal has got 5 locations. There's 2 locations of Fastenal on the same street in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's one on one end of Westinghouse and one on the other end, and they're about 3 miles apart. When I go visit both of those guys, they're both busy.
Wow. Well, that's why they've got 1 and 2 ends to both ends of the street, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And in between those guys, there's 3 other distributors that are all doing pretty good, too.
What market are they serving that this town supports so much distributor activity?
Well, each one of the Fastenal stores has a sales counter. A lot of the regional distributors these days do not have sales counters. They have discouraged walk-in trade business from the local contractor, or not many of the handyman people come in there. They usually end up at the regional hardware store or local hardware store. But so many of the privately owned companies have discouraged the walk-in trade in specifically the industrial fastener side of it. Contractor FAFTA type houses, they still encourage it, but they don't have the diversity of fasteners that typically the industrial fastener guy has. So the Fastenal guys are working with that. They go out, as you well know, with the concept of 2 to 4 people in a store. They cover a broad sector of things, from power tools, hand tools, fasteners, and the like. So they've got even more products to sell, so they can become more diversified than what typically your industrial fastener specialist does, that you guys speak about quite freely there with the Fastener Clearinghouse. And what we talk about is fastener salespeople, calling on. So Fastenal's got more diversity than what your typical industrial fastener guy does at this juncture.
Well, it's working out well for them.
It is working out well for them, and they just keep adding more and more products in their mix too.
This might be a good moment to shift a little bit and talk about capital marketing, because it would be good if you could describe what you're doing with that business and how you're working with fastener distributors, perhaps to help them differentiate themselves in this kind of a tough market.
Okay. Capital marketing is, in theory, a sales agency, or as the industry prefers to call them, a rep agency. However, with my experience in the business, I offer more opportunity for the regional distributor, or any distributor, including the Fastenal young people, because I can probably pretty much safely say that most situations that someone is involved with, I've probably been exposed to it or been directly in the line of it. And even from the management of a fastener company, I've obviously done that. So when I go in to see a distributor, I usually end up talking about more than the companies that I'm representing. And as I talk about the companies that I'm representing, in most cases I have used their product and sold their products to end users. So capital marketing has got a little better go-to-market type strategy than what a traditional sales agent or sales rep, probably would have. And I can say that I've been very, very fortunate to be exposed to so many different products through the years, so that I've got that experience to transmit to anybody that asks a question or wants to listen to the description of it. That make good sense?
Yeah, I think the hands-on practical knowledge of the products is something that you can't substitute it.
That's exactly right. You got to go out and get dirty before you can make it fit.
Oh, I don't like that idea.
You don't like the idea of getting dirty?
No. I gave that up years ago when I stopped working on British cars.
Well, I understand. That was definitely a dirty job.
I just have to ask you, since this is kind of the convergence of a couple of different threads we have going, but being in the rep business and also being affiliated with NFDA, I'm sure you're aware of the ongoing discussion of whether or not reps have a place in NFDA or not. Obviously, you're an exception to the rule, but where do you fall on that question?
We're going to air this?
Well,
when I was on the board of the NFDA some 12, 14 years ago, whenever it was, the theory of the NFDA's group at that time was to be the leader in the Fastener Association. And at that time, reps, as it is today, or salespeople, independent salespeople, let's phrase it that way maybe, were not invited to join the NFDA, and they still haven't been. They have relaxed it a little bit from what I understand now, that if you can come if you're associated specifically with, one of the member companies. So I could go, if I weren't a lifetime member and been through the exercise that I've been through, I could go, for example, as a representative for any one of the companies that I can't remember which ones I'm working for. I'll tell you which ones are members, because several of them have dropped out over recent times. But say Copper State Bolts. I could go as a member of Copper State Bolts, team at that particular meeting, or Shirex's, meeting at that team.
Right.
So, but I have encouraged NFDA for years to relax that non-sales agent membership thing. That every sales rep's not going to join. At one time, got to remember that when NFDA was formed back in the 60s, and I've been exposed to them since the mid-70s, because the people that I worked for at that time were members and very heavily involved with it as well. But it was a distributor association. They didn't even have manufacturers come to those meetings until 5 or 6 years or something after it was started. And it was a good old boys club. I mean, you were invited to join, and then it has evolved, obviously, into what it is today, which, in my opinion, is still struggling quite a bit, simply because they don't want to embrace the complete industry. And we got into a big discussion with them about that back in, I guess it was last summer, because the NFDA had come to the Southeastern group and wanted Southeastern to merge in with NFDA. And they presented that to us at the spring meeting last year, wherever it was, I think it was in Orlando. And you could tell right away that a number of the people were standoffish about that. So I suggested to Joanne and Tony that kind of put together a little task force, and let's do some inquiry and let's have some meetings with NFDA. So myself, Donnie Schrum from Fastener Supply, and Don West from Nucor kind of volunteered to get involved with Tony and Joanne and try to open up that door. So again, I went to the NFDA with one of the calls that we had, and I said, guys, your attitude hasn't changed in 12, 14 years. I said, you've got to embrace the complete industry, and the complete industry involves not only distributors and suppliers, because at one time it was manufacturers. Now it's suppliers, okay, because a lot of the guys are master distributors, if you will, such as a Porteous or Star or some of those guys. I said, you've got to embrace everybody, including the independent sales rep. And it was like you could have cut the air with a knife. And they still, don't appreciate that. At one time, the manufacturers were opposed to that, or suppliers were opposed to that, because they were afraid it would dilute the the presence of the meeting more by having more, so-called people trying to get the time of the distributors that were there. And I guess I could respect, some of that, but, most of the time when you go to a regional meeting, there's more suppliers at those meetings than there are distributors, simply because suppliers are coming from all over the country, and the regional guys are coming from, 3, 4, 5 states or something like that. So, the NFDA is a good organization as it is, as it was, as it's going to continue to be, I hope. They still haven't, in my opinion, embraced the full scope of the industry. That's pretty much it.
Well, they've defined the slice that they are serving, and I guess for the people that are running it now, that's what they want to do. So I think everybody is really doing what they think is serving them best currently. So I guess you can't really blame anyone for doing that.
No, you can't. You certainly can't blame them. You're absolutely right. But hear them talk. They want to grow and they want to expand, and that's the whole basis of that. Is you've got to put your arms around the whole industry, or the whole world, if you will, the whole United States. I think they ruled out the world because a lot of people were going to drop out if they kept bringing the Asians in there. But you've got to embrace, the whole industry as itself to make it really work. But I'm going to tell you, through the years, discussion has gone on and on and on. But in the mid-'90s, early to mid-'90s, that group was strong as it could be and really flourishing. I just like the Southeastern group. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, I mean, heck, it'd be 150 people at one of those meetings.
Wow.
Times have changed, times they do a change, as they say.
Well, I was going to say there's also the chance that you could hit the big tent paradox, much like the modern-day Republican Party. They're chasing their tail, trying to figure out the answer to that question.
That's a good statement, too.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Robbie Gilchrist Scholarship Fund stemming out of the foundation. Please tell us a little bit about that. And what makes me think about it is just last week I saw a tweet go flying by from the NFDA announcing that the deadline for application for the scholarship is coming due. Please tell us about that.
Well, I appreciate you asking me about that. That's a subject that's very, very dear to Gina and me. We were very, very fortunate, in business. We worked very hard. We had the opportunity to sell the business, to cash some coupons, as you might say, and we were very, very strong about trying to give something back to the industry in some manner or another. And the trade associations did their thing, and at that time we were very, very involved with the NFDA. So we just decided that we were going to endow this foundation and set up this foundation, and its concept would be to give money back to the fastener industry in the form of education for people that wanted to work in the fastener industry or make their career in the fastener. We've done just that. We made the endowment in 2000. Since the endowment was made in 2000, we've been through 2 recessions. We still have the principal part of the endowment pretty well intact. We're very, very proud of that. The management group that we have looking after it has done a great job with it. We've still been able to give away over $50,000 to approximately 40 people during that 12 years this year since we started giving away scholarships.
Congratulations
Wow.
on that. That's impressive.
Thank you very much. Again, Regina and I, thought about it a long time. We decided that was the way to give back to the industry that had been so supportive of us. Again, we met each other in the industry. Very fortunate to meet a lot of great people. We have a lot of wonderful friends, and we thought that was some way that we could continue to support the industry. Because at the time we did that, we were not going to be in the fastener business. We had sold the business. We were going to go and do something else. The economy goes bad. I can't find anything else to do because I sure wasn't going to sit around and do nothing. I'm not that kind of person. So ultimately, we went back to what I knew, and I'm back in the fastener business. So we are very, very pleased that we've been able to support the scholarship, and every intention of continuing on as long as we're able and healthy.
Well, that's an outstanding story, and I think it's one that a lot of entrepreneurs strive for. So it's a great American success story right there, Robbie.
Thank you very much.
I got to ask you this. I don't know if I should infer anything from that or not, but are you much of a golf player?
there was a time. Yeah, I've had some health issues with my joints. Recent years has kind of curtailed some of my skills, I'll say, but I still try to play quite a bit when I can, and I enjoy it. It's been a very good pastime. Matter of fact, Gina and I got her into it back in early 90s, not long after I started playing again after starting the business, and literally we've been all over the world playing golf and meeting people, and it's just been a great pastime for us. We really enjoy it.
Well, I kind of had an idea that's how you were going to answer something similar, and being a member of CIFA and NFDA, they kind of go hand in hand, really, right?
Well, that's the best place to find your buddies, usually on Thursday afternoon, is on the golf course with those groups. That's right.
We thought it was Friday afternoon, not Thursday afternoon.
Well, that too.
Okay.
Now that's getting a little bit more like it. Yeah, the orthodontists and the dentists are Wednesdays, and fastener guys Thursday and Friday, right?
There you go.
Well, Robbie, it's been great to talk with you, and it'll be great to see you possibly playing a little golf out in Birmingham in April at the CIFRA Spring Conference.
I look forward to being there. I appreciate you asking me to participate with you. It's been a lot of fun, guys.
You notice you won't find me anywhere near the CIFA conference because it would require me to play golf.
Well, we do other things besides play golf, Brian. There's a few libations that get tilted there too, so you can certainly participate in that.
Now you're talking his language. Well, we'll be up for a little bit of all of the above, and Robbie Gilchrist of Capital Marketing, let's put your website out there so people can get a hold of you, and that is www.capital-marketing.com, and you're out of High Point, North Carolina.
Might also add there, Eric, that capital is spelled with an A-L.
That's good to know. I tell you what, Robbie, we're going to put that out on our Facebook page, so anybody who needs to get the absolute correct spelling of that can find it there, or you're not really too hard to find, so...
Well, that's good to hear, and I tell you, that technology is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
You know what? We owe our business to it, so I'm in total agreement there.
There you go.
Hey, thanks, Robbie. We'll catch you real soon.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed it.
That's our pleasure.
Next stop's the end of the line, but what a ride we've got till then. It's fully threaded.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting fastenal.com today.
Volt Industrial Plastics is the source for all your high-quality plastic fastener needs, and customer service is their #1 priority. With almost 1 million fasteners in stock and same-day shipping on stock items, Volt Industrial Plastics carries inventory so you don't have to. Volt manufactures everything in-house from over 125 different materials, and they're proud to say 100% of their products are American-made. And of course, custom tooling and in-house bagging is available. Contact Volt online at www.voltplastics.com. Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners.
Hi, this is Hugh Hewitt for the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund, www.semperfifund.org. Over the past 7 years, twice a year, the wonderful people who operate the Semper Fi Fund and many amazing Marines who have been the beneficiaries of the charities that have supported the Semper Fi Fund, including many thousands of individual donors, have come into my radio studio to tell their amazing stories of serving their country, of being wounded, and how the Semper Fi Fund has helped them make that transition back to recovery. Unfortunately, Bethesda and Walter Reed are full again. More and more men and women are coming back from the war injured, sometimes awfully so. We need the Semper Fi Fund to be there for these Marines and those soldiers, sailors, and airmen who served alongside of them. Please consider a gift to the Semper Fi Fund. Very low overhead, extraordinary capacity to get money where it needs to get in a hurry, and great management, including some of the senior Marines who have ever served under the flag. When you're looking for something to do that will make an impact, please check out the Semper Fi Fund. That's www.semperfifund.org, www.semperfifund.org.
Brian and Eric, your online Fastener Talk Radio brothers in thread. Fully Threaded Radio.
This is John Gaudette with Metric and Multi-Standard Components, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you on the online flying monkey of the fastener industry, Fully Threaded Radio.
A flying monkey. Okay. Is that like the fastener version of the Flying Dutchman?
Well, tell me about the Flying Dutchman. I'm not familiar with that one. I should be, I know.
Well, it was two things. It was a Fable ship, and it was also a train.
See, I stumbled into a reference, and I didn't even know it.
As a ship, I think it was one of these things that would suddenly, it was probably an inspiration for Pirates of the Caribbean, one of those, because it was a ship that would suddenly turn up out of nothing in the sea and then take off down under the waves again.
Was it high speed, though?
No, I don't. It was a sailing ship. No, it was definitely not high speed.
Well, thanks for bringing it up anyway. Learned something new. And speaking of learning and education, must be a great thing to be a guy like Robbie Gilchrist and have your own educational foundation. I think that's an aspiration that a lot of entrepreneurs have, and, well, he's reached it.
Right. And, you know, Robbie would be very happy when he listens to this, because when he hears Tyson Clayton, then he will hear the very sort of person that he was, you know, lamenting in our interview about the fact that he didn't know enough entrepreneurs going into the fastener industry. Well, there he has one.
You are so right. You know, the way things work, you know, we can never really quite tell what our guests are going to say. And we did the interview with Robbie Gilchrist just before the one with Tyson. So it was very interesting and very unplanned. But as usual, here we are on Fully Threaded showing both sides of the coin. Robbie, of course, was lamenting the fact that he doesn't see enough entrepreneurship out there in the fastener industry, and Tyson, a real go-getter. But you can't take away from what Robbie was saying. I think his point is well taken. There is that spirit that needs to be nurtured, and it needs to be driven. And hopefully a few people got inspired by listening to Tyson.
Right. Yep.
Well, it was good of both of them to join us on this episode. And with that, let's take a moment to thank them and all of our guests on Fully Threaded today. And they were Robbie Gilchrist of Capital Marketing, Tyson Clayton of Desert Fasteners and Supply, BB&T Capital Markets analyst Holden Lewis, and, of course, Mr. Mike McNulty with the Fastener News Report. Good job today, Mike. Our sponsors on the show today were Stelfast, Beacon Fasteners and Components, Fastenal, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Fastener Technology International Magazine. Thanks to all of you. We couldn't do it without you, and you make the whole show possible. Thanks also to all of you for clicking in and supporting the show. We sure do appreciate that, hearing your feedback and comments. Get with us anytime at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We'll see you out there at Twitter anytime under the handle Fully Threaded. And again, check out our Facebook page. We'll have links from the show, from this episode and others, and you can communicate with us that way too.
Yeah, and don't forget our real Fully Threaded page and the instructions on the right-hand side. That'll help you to subscribe to Fully Threaded as a podcast on your smartphone, be it an iPhone, be it an Android device, or a BlackBerry.
That's right. We've enhanced the instructions and even added a QR code for the Android users.
Right. Thanks, Andy.
And you're not going to want to miss episode 42, folks. We'll be joined by two stalwart voices from the trenches of the fastener distribution war. From K&L Sales in Wisconsin, Marty Meyer and John Butler will be joining us. Plus, Greg Wiener of Quick Screws International will be back to update us on developments from the world of politics as he sees them, now that Super Tuesday is behind us, and all from a fastener distribution point of view.
Of course.
Of course. So don't miss it. And to close out this episode of the show, and in keeping with our theme of state-mandated solutions, or the lack thereof, I suppose, there was a headline this week you just couldn't miss for its deep irony and sheer tone deafness. From thehill.com, this is dated March 5th, headline, Chevy Volt, dubbed Euro Car of the Year. You see this one, Bri?
Yeah, I saw that, and the irony of it, too.
Story starts, days after General Motors announced it was temporarily suspending production of the Chevy Volt, the electric car was named European Car of the Year. The Geneva Auto Show announced Monday that the Volt, which is sold in Europe as the Opel Ampera, was named its 2012 Car of the Year ahead of its annual car show that opens this week. The recognition follows General Motors' announcement last week that it was halting production of the Volt for 5 weeks, temporarily laying off 1,300 employees. Now, here's where the story gets really twisted. This line is straight out of the pages of Pravda. Listen to this. GM officials attributed the decision to temporarily suspend production of the Volt to inventory concerns. Quote, we needed to maintain proper inventory to make sure we continue to meet market demand, GM spokesman Chris Lee told The Hill last week.
Right. Yeah, which is doublespeak for to meet customer lack of demand.
Exactly. Now, later in the story, there's another chunk of newspeak bilge. Listen to this. Chevy decried the politicization of Volt's development, with General Motors CEO Daniel Ackerson testifying before Congress in January, saying, we did not develop the Chevy Volt to be a political punching bag.
Right.
Keep in mind, folks, this is a company that now is controlled by the UAW and your federal government, lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Oh, brother.
I mean, the pity of it all is that the Volt does represent, a great deal of work from a lot of really smart people. It's not quite at the right time, I don't think, but it's not a bad development. It just isn't quite right. That's my view of it.
Well, I agree, but that doesn't remove the fact that this technology is not mature and the world is simply not ready for it. The infrastructure isn't there, and there's all kinds of problems. The market is speaking loud and clear on that, Bray.
Right, yeah. I mean, the size of the batteries is still too big, and the manufactured cost is too high still. I mean, that's the problem.
Well, continuing on with the story, the fearless leader is quoted in it, and the story says, in a speech to the United Auto Workers Union last week, Obama promised that he would buy the Volt, quote, 5 years from now when he's not president anymore.
Hoping that no one's going to actually be paying attention.
Well, the good I see in this is that at least he sees a day when he won't be president anymore. I mean, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
Besides, I thought in 5 years we'd all be hopping on high-speed rail just to get to the 7-Eleven.
Yes. Yes. This is where the Flying Dutchman, the train, comes in.
Well, for the true believers out there who are now deeply upset with us, look to your own Washington Post for more confirmation of this craziness. In a piece dated March 5th, and this will be on our Facebook page too, folks, writer and commentator Charles Lane says, 4 decades after the 1973 oil crisis, this logic is now wearing thin. Any company that figured out how to build a practical mass-market electric car would be swimming in cash. That no one has done so suggests we're bumping up against the limits of nature, not just politics or economics. Certainly, the many hundreds of millions of dollars that the U.S. government, GM, and its competitors have poured into the effort might have been better spent on more plausible energy-efficient efforts, such as advanced internal combustion engines. Instead, big government and big business have focused on the Volt, the Fisker Karma, and the Tesla Roadster, none of which is remotely affordable.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of ties into exactly what you were saying a minute ago, Brian. It's from the Washington Post, man. And, of course, this is all plainly obvious to the many intelligent people pulling the levers behind all this, folks. You know, we played a clip at the top of the show during which an extreme fundamentalist environmentalist stated that he's glad for the rise in gas prices because it'll force society to change. And that, my fastener-loving friends, is the real point behind this affront to your freedom and intelligence.
Well, that all may be true, mate. But what are we going to do about this problem of limited access to contraception?
Well, we'll have to concentrate on that little doozy sometime, because this train has reached its final destination for this high-speed junket, folks. And that'll put episode 41 in the can.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Keep your iPhones dry.
That's good advice. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there and sell some screws, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.